You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Randy. In the future, there will be a retro resurgence, and people will start mailing letters instead of texting. However, the emoji will not go away, and handwritten letters will contain full-page smiley faces, frowny faces, and middle fingers.
And this is Jesse. In the future, they will develop a pill that will basically eliminate post-workout muscle soreness. Unfortunately, one of the side effects will be increased appetite, so the vicious cycle continues.
It's good. I like that one.
I can totally see it happening. I feel like that probably does exist already, and they're like, "Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, this doesn't work."
I bet they're high in irony.
Oh boy, yep, it is.
All right. Welcome to the Grawlix podcast. This is episode number 65.
65.
I was going to say, so I was playing around with Google Assistant last night, and all of my conversation, quote unquote conversations with Google Assistant end with me swearing at it, and because it's so dumb. It's not what I wish it was. But
right.
If you ask it to tell you jokes, all of its jokes are just the worst puns. They're all puns.
Oh, good.
So I kept going. I was like, do you know any jokes that aren't puns? And it's like,
Have
sure.
you met Jesse Kiefer?
And then it told, yeah, and that's what made me think of it. I was like, man, these are like Jesse level and beyond.
Oh, man.
But yep. So you and Google Assistant, man.
We got jokes.
So this episode, it's our poll list episode. We're also going to tackle some questions that we did not get to on our 4-year anniversary episode. So that's fun.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that's fun.
That is fun. For crying out loud. So what is the poll list?
I'm glad you asked. So we have a poll on our website, as in like you can vote on it, and it shouldn't get tampered with. And
it shouldn't. I hope not.
I hope not. I don't know. We probably have pretty good security compared to other voting mechanisms. Anyway, yeah, it's a poll on our website. You can vote on various comic books or make a suggestion. And each month we pick the one that currently has the most votes. We read it and talk about it next month. It's the poll list. Get it? That it's a pun in itself.
Yeah. We're polling you. But it's also like going to a comic book store and your poll file list.
Yeah, exactly.
See? Yeah. Have we ever explained that joke?
I don't know that we have. Maybe at the very beginning.
Because I think it's funnier when you tell them what the joke actually means. I think that's a rule, right?
It is. When you have to spell it out, you know the punchline lands.
Yeah, you do know it lands because you hear the thud.
You hear the thud.
So, this is the part where I tell you what we're going to be reading next month, right?
Oh, it is.
It is. All right, well, for next month, for our April episode, our April poll list episode, we will be reading Transmetropolitan with 25% of the vote.
All right. Transmetropolitan.
Yes, and then looking at the rest of our list, remember when I put out a call where I said, "Hey, we need some more DC books," and then they gave us like 3 new Marvel books instead. So I'm gonna say, listeners, we need a lot more Marvel on this list.
I see what you're trying to do. And I'm
Do you
gonna
think it's gonna work?
I'm gonna make my own. I'm gonna make another future prediction and say we are gonna end up with a list full of just Marvel books.
There is one book on this list that is not Marvel after we do Transmetropolitan.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, Transmetropolitan and All-Star Superman are the only two DC. I think DC, because isn't Transmetropolitan like Vertigo?
Yeah, I believe it's Vertigo.
Yeah, everything else is Marvel. Even GI Joe is the Marvel run
Marvel
of GI Joe
specifically.
So the original classic GI Joes, I guess.
Guys, what are you doing? What are you doing to me?
I think they know.
I think they do too.
I think they're trolling you at this point.
We read a fair bit of Marvel stuff on here. Come on, you can mix it up a little bit.
Right. It's good for you. It's like if you were only eating candy all the time, that wouldn't be good for you. You gotta sprinkle in some stuff that's good for you.
Yeah, like vinegar. Or
like vinegar. That's good.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for Transmetropolitan. I don't mind reading Marvel stuff. It's probably good for me. I'm glad I've read a lot of the Marvel stuff we've read on the show so far, like Daredevil. Last month. That was good.
That was good. I enjoyed that.
What did we talk about the first? Oh, that was Dark Horse. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So we keep, that's what our other show is for sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Batman. Getting our Batman fix in.
Exactly.
Just in case you guys don't vote for Batman. Which I notice there's no Batman on this list.
There is no Batman. Seems
That's wrong.
The Batman backlash.
Yeah.
Batlash.
Because we had a lot of Batmans for a while.
We did.
All the Batmans.
So many Batmans. We
even had to go to other shows so that we could talk about more Batman. Because that's
true.
what we did when we went on Patrick's show. When we went on Make Dad Read Comics. We were like, hey, could we read some Batman? We don't get enough of Batman. Somebody on Twitter called me out on that because it was like, what was it? What's new this week? What are you reading right now? And I was like, read this and this and this, and then Batman, and Batman. It was like Batman in the Shadow. It was like Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was Batman White Knight. It was Batman Creature of the Night. It was like, oh yeah, I'm basically reading Batman.
Yep. God,
Detective Comics, just to mix it up.
Yeah, you gotta have something a little different.
Yeah.
There's no Batman in that title.
I mean, there's the least amount of Batman in that title, I guess.
Sounds like my pull list, my actual pull list.
Right.
Now that Invincible's over and when there's no Swamp Thing, it's all Batman.
Right.
How? Side note, and you don't have to really get into it very far. How was that Batman Shadow book? Because I cracked the cover on that, but I like everything else. I just got distracted by something.
The art is incredible, but I haven't properly got into it yet. I mean, I've got them all, kind of thing, and it's not over yet though. Is the thing. The issues are still coming out, so part of me is kind of like, let's just wait until I got all the issues in hand before I just start cracking. Because sometimes that stuff gets back ordered. And there's nothing more frustrating than getting started and then realizing you're missing the issue in the middle. So I haven't really dug into it too far, partly because I've got a lot of books that I'm still backlogged on, and part of it is just because I've been burned before.
Sure. I've been burned before.
I've been hurt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could hear the hurt in your voice. I don't have a whole lot for in-house news. What did you all think, listeners of Cinematic Universe? The first episode dropped last week. Maybe I'll have a good idea of whether people liked it or not by the time this goes up. So,
I've heard the intro and I like the intro.
It's my favorite part.
I like how Jasper opens with, and they were terrible.
Yeah, he was not going to wait. Yeah. He's like, these movies are bad.
You haven't even properly started the show yet. He's like, we watched 2 movies and they were terrible. So I'm excited to hear more about how terrible these movies are and how they match together and to make a cinematic universe.
Oh man, and I have some other good ideas for double features. Like, I'll go ahead and spoil one. We haven't done this one yet, but we're going to. Maybe I'll wait towards for October or something. But what did I? He knew where I was going before I even went there. But I asked him. I was like, so I have an idea for a couple of horror movies, but they're not really horror movies. They're kind of just bad movies. And he's like, is it Freddy versus Jason and Alien versus Predator? And I go, yes, it is.
The Versaverse.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I was like, because I want an episode title that says Freddy versus Jason versus Alien versus Predator. It's going to happen.
Yes, that's a great idea. Yes.
Those movies.
Or even you could do Army of Darkness so that you could have, or Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have Ash versus the Evil Dead versus Alien versus Predator versus Jason versus Freddy.
Oh, my God. That has to happen now.
Right?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I think you guys need to have the Affleckiverse where you've got that horrible Daredevil movie. And I can say that because I just watched it yesterday.
You just watched? Why?
Oh, yeah. I'd never watched the director's cut.
Oh.
And everybody said the director's cut was better. Well, better is relative.
Yeah.
There's only so much that the director can fix when the acting is wooden and the writing is terrible. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And it's funny because the whole time I'm thinking like this movie is basically like The Crow if The Crow were done by someone that couldn't act at that time and and set in the early aughts. Because it's like, you know how The Crow is kind of like seminal 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Daredevil is like seminal the aughts because it's got like Nickelback in the soundtrack.
Oh my God.
And it's got like Josie's Bar is like this bar that apparently lets you bring your motorcycles inside. And there's like steel cages and chain link fence and stuff. And they just like start fires in the bar. It's just like, this movie is such a product of its time. It's like more of a product of its time than The Crow was.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I kind of want you guys to rewatch it.
I kind of do want to revisit it now because
it's one of those so bad that you can't help but not, I don't know, tear it apart.
Well, did you
I don't know.
Did you do the proper thing then and follow it up with Elektra?
No, God, no. Wait, well, that was the thing that I kept thinking as I'm rewatching this movie is I'm like, Elektra doesn't make any sense after this movie. Like, Elektra is like this cold-hearted killer at the beginning of her movie, but she is not that person at all in Daredevil. At least what I remember of it. Because I have not seen it since I saw it. I saw it in the theater, and that's money I'll never get back. Yeah,
You're still sore about it.
Oh man!
Over a decade later.
Yeah, I saw that one in the theater. Whew.
Oh man, yeah, those are not good. Those are not good.
No.
I remember being just disgusted with those as movies. Oh.
So yeah, the Affleckiverse. You have Daredevil versus or Daredevil and Batman. Okay, Daredevil and the Justice League.
You know, I have had such disdain for Affleck for so long that it's weird to almost like kind of feel bad for him at this point because
he's gotten better. As an actor, he is so much better than Daredevil now.
I agree. He has gotten better. But
Yeah.
you know, he'll do these movies and I'm sure he's like stoked. Like you get cast as Batman or even,
Right.
you know, Daredevil back in the day. Like I'm sure you're stoked and then the movie comes out, everybody hates it. You probably should have seen that coming. But like how disappointing that must be as an actor because he has very little other than signing on and his performance itself. He has very little control over anything. So like
Sure.
it's got to be disappointing. No wonder he wants out of Batman.
Right. Well, yeah, that would be double whammy. If he were directing and writing Batman and acting in Batman and everybody hated it,
Oh yeah, no doubt.
that's a lot of pressure. So yeah, cinematic universe, the Grawlix empire continues.
Yes, the Affleckiverse. So the best superhero movie Affleck was ever in was where he was in that movie where he played was it George Reeves or something?
Oh yeah, that was a great movie. Was that Summerland or
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, where he plays the actor that played Superman in the serials.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent casting because he's a jerk, but he is good. Right. He is good.
No, he's really good in it. Yeah, we saw that one in theater too, and that was kind of like whoa, because I think we went on like a Tuesday or something when it's super cheap, and we're like, what are we gonna watch? Well, let's watch this. We've heard some good things, and it was really good.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's tackle some questions.
All right,
Peter from the Superior Comic Show. We know Peter. He asks, how do you guys think Sony is going to introduce Venom? Obviously, they can't use the comics origin. What is Venom's comics origin?
Okay, so Venom in the comics, originally the suit attaches itself to Peter Parker.
Oh, okay,
The Venom symbiote comes through as a result of Secret Wars when they're in another dimension. And his suit gets destroyed, so they come across this suit, and it's actually an alien. It's actually a symbiote. And so that comes through when he gets back to New York from that dimension. And that's kind of how it starts. And then you come to find out that the symbiotic relationship is less symbiotic and more the alien kind of starts to take over the host a little bit, and affects the host behaviorally a lot. And so what happens is, at the same time that Peter is trying to get rid of the suit, Eddie Brock, he's also having these issues with Eddie Brock. And so while he's getting rid of the suit, it attaches itself to Eddie, who already hates Peter Parker and Spider-Man for all these things that he believes Peter did to him or Spider-Man did to him or whatever. And so it takes its previous knowledge of Spider-Man with it. And so when it attaches itself to Eddie Brock, it still kind of retains that Spider-Man-like quality. Mm-hmm. It's very tightly interwoven into the Spider-Man thing. So when they said that they were going to do a Venom movie that didn't have anything to do with Spider-Man, it was kind of like, what?
Yeah, it'll be weird, but I guess on the upside, it's a concept that you can just be like, well, this thing attaches to somebody else, So
right.
That's good for them. As for how they're going to do it,
I'm kind of curious if they will do the whole spider logo on his chest or not.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Will it still exist in a universe that has had Spider-Man? Like they've kind of flirted with that idea. You take a look at television shows like The Gifted, where this isn't even like a great example because that's still technically all Fox. It's still the Fox X-Men universe, but they just reference the X-Men. They don't ever show the X-Men. They don't know where the X-Men are. Like the X-Men disappeared in some thing that happened, and it doesn't matter. They just move forward. Like it all happened once upon a time, kind of like in Logan, In Logan, it all happened, but it's not super integral to what's happening now. So I don't know if maybe that's what they'll do, is they'll reference that Spider-Man did exist. Because Sony still has rights to, and I think Peter even pointed this out, Sony still has rights to all the other movies that came before it. So this could technically be an offshoot of those. It could be an offshoot of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It could be the offshoot of a Andrew Garfield Garfield. that would be something. That would be like Garfield Inception right there. Now I want an Andrew Garfield. But yeah, it could technically be a Venom for those universes. Not that they'll ever continue those, but it could be a thing like this happened, and we're not going to pay Andrew Garfield any more money, but that this is an offshoot of that.
Oh, Venom is set to be released October 5th. October. Interesting. Huh. So Peter had a follow-up question of, in your opinion, what will be Marvel's next box office record-breaking solo movie? And
that's a tough one. I don't even know with this, because if you had told me that that Black Panther was going to be the one that was going to break like Avengers records, I don't think I would have believed you. Like, I'm glad, and it's a great movie, and it's a big deal, but I didn't see it coming. I'm just going to be honest about that, in terms of just how successful it would be. And that just comes down to, you can make any of these movies awesome. You just got to write them well, and that's the thing. Black Panther is written well. It's acted well. There's a lot of passion that was put into the making of this film, and it comes through and it pays dividends. And so what's the next big solo movie? I have no idea. I don't think it's Ant-Man and Wasp.
So do you think, what else is there for actual solo movies Marvel solo movies that's been
that they
announced?
haven't done? Yeah, I don't know.
Captain Marvel is the only other one I can think of.
I mean, that'll be good. I don't know if it'll be Black Panther levels. I don't think it'll be Avengers levels,
I don't see it breaking those, but that's about the only other one I can see. If we're not counting, if we're sticking strictly to actual like Marvel Studios movies, I don't know what other solo ones are coming. If you open it up to Fox, like there's still supposedly a Gambit movie on the slate at some point.
Yeah, I don't know that will. Because that's been mired in rewrites and people jumping ship, and
that always turns out well.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know if it counts or if he's looking for like new solo movies, but I think if the next Spider-Man, post Infinity War, the Homecoming sequel, if that has the Sinister Six in it, I think it'll be Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man will make its full comeback, and because before the Avengers, Spider-Man was kind of the record-breaking movie, and I think if they could bring back Spider-Man to that level of previously established glory, it could be Spidey for Marvel, anyways.
Of course, with certain questions like this, it's worth noting if you're not a regular listener, we record these episodes a little while in advance, so there's could also be announcements between now and then. So
sure,
but yeah, that makes sense. I think you're probably right. Most likely, a Spider-Man sequel has the best potential if they do it right to like be their next box office hit. Otherwise, yeah, I'll say I bet Captain Marvel will do okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to do well
if they market it well. I think it'll be all right.
If they were smart and got off their duffs and did Black Widow like 5 years ago, that probably would have been it.
Yeah, that was really a missed opportunity.
Well, and now there's that Jennifer Lawrence movie, Red Sparrow or whatever, which basically looks like it's a Black Widow, like a repaint kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like, well, if you guys aren't going to make this, we'll make it.
Right.
David from Tales from the Fandom podcast asked us, if you were rebooting the X-Men universe, who would you choose as your 5 members?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Now, are we... He's from Tales from the Fandom, so are we talking comics or movies,
you could do
or does it
you
matter?
could do it either way, really. Because if we're rebooting, we're rebooting, But I guess media does matter.
If it's the movies and you want them to succeed, it'll be Wolverine, old Wolverine, girl Wolverine.
Yeah. CGI Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
Yep, and then Hugh Jackman. Just Hugh Jackman.
Just Hugh Jackman, yeah. You're not wrong, man. All you need to do is just go through and who are the fan favorites of each movie and just assume they're going to be in there,
Yeah.
Storm would probably be on there just because it's Storm. I guess you'd have to have Jean Grey because Dark Phoenix has to happen every other movie, right?
Every trilogy, yeah. They have to do Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Even if it's the same timeline.
I guess you got to have Cyclops because somebody's got to suck. Somebody,
yeah.
Somebody's got to be the wet rag that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
Basically the straight man, so that Wolverine can have a funny line. Because I feel like that's all Cyclops did in the first 2 or the first 3 even. If you count him as being in 3. So what do I got? 2 left? Like Nightcrawler, I guess, maybe? Mm-hmm. Colossus, maybe?
Okay.
So that's almost, well, oh wait, I didn't add Wolverine. So scratch off Colossus and put Wolverine in.
Wolverine. You got to have Wolverine there.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the only thing, the only thing that would push Nightcrawler off this list and put Colossus back on is if you're going to do an on-screen fastball special.
Yes.
So then in that case, nix Nightcrawler and put Colossus back on.
Yes.
So that puts my team at Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Colossus. Because people will pay to see that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. yeah. You mixed it up there.
Yep. Yeah. Let's tell stories we've never seen before. With those characters.
Oh, man.
I don't suppose that when they asked this question, they thought they'd get such a cynical response.
No, probably not.
No, I mean, like if I was going to restart it, I don't think we've ever gotten like in the movies, we've never gotten a legit original team. You know, like they've wonkified their timeline so bad that I just want to see the classic team. I want to see Beast, Iceman, Marvel Girl, Cyclops, Iceman. Did I say Iceman?
You did.
Just the original 5. I just want the original 5.
Yeah.
Oh, Angel. Angel's the one that's what I want. I want a proper Angel because I don't feel like we've ever gotten a proper Angel.
And they've done him a couple times now.
Yep. And he's just been awful. And to be fair, he's kind of a tough character to nail, but he's really not. You know, he's a rich, pretty boy that has angel wings. We've done that before, just minus the angel wings.
If we're still talking movies, I'd like a proper Iceman. Like they've not really mishandled him. He's just never been a key character.
Right.
Also, Toad, for some reason, specifically the X-Men first movie Toad,
right? Yeah,
and
you would have throw him on the team.
He's on the team now. He's a kind of a good guy.
Yes, he's awesome.
He's the
Ray Park is, yeah.
He's the Wolverine.
He's anti-Beast.
Yes, and Thunderbird.
And Thunderbird, yes. Yeah, why not? Throw Thunderbird in there. Oh man. You could go diversity squad. With the X-Men. You totally could. I mean.
And Deadpool. Now it'll make money.
Oh man. I missed that one. Get rid of Storm. Just, you know what? We don't even need those other guys. Cyclops and Deadpool, that's your movie.
That would, oh my God, that actually, it's the most extreme straight man and comedic sidekick type deal ever. I think that's brilliant. I think that's a great idea.
Basically, Cable, you're just kicking out the middleman.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, I had a lot more fun with that than I expected. All right, David has another. Again, this is David from Tales from the Fandom. I have the hardest time saying your podcast title for some reason. He has another question. Who would you add to the Netflix lineup of characters? And it doesn't have to be primarily set in New York City either.
Ooh. I like. Well, they're probably doing this though. Isn't Moon Knight going to be one?
Is he?
I thought I heard someone somewhere saying they were going to develop a Moon Knight. But that's that. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, me too. That'd be really interesting.
I think Netflix would be perfect for it too. Yeah. I'd rather see that than a movie. I'd rather see Moon Knight as a serial on Netflix.
Yeah, it would most definitely suit a serial. A TV series versus a movie, because I don't know that a Moon Knight movie would, even if it was decent, would necessarily be successful.
Right.
But with a TV series, and it almost kind of seems counterintuitive, but with a series, like, it gives people time to kind of buy into a character.
Right. And you need that for a character like Moon Knight because he's got the multiple personalities, you know? I mean, like you gotta build up to that. You can't just hit him in the face with it. Well, I mean, maybe you could at the end of the episode, but like the first episode, you don't necessarily go, hey, he talks to himself, you know?
Yeah.
And not in a Deadpool funny way. Although sometimes.
We have another David and another question. David from the Hypotheticast. He asks, the Marvel Universe is bloated, and that's what makes it fun. But imagine you get to completely wipe one character from existence. Nobody ever remembers that they existed, and the story surrounding them makes sense as if they were never there. Who do you eliminate?
I mean, like that this one's hard because there's so many possibilities. I mean, like there's several members of the Avengers that like you delete them and nobody would even care.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go back through and at one time I would have said Hawkeye, you know, like you really don't need Hawkeye, but no, I mean, he's a big deal now. So you can't get rid of him.
I like these characters, but my instinct is, and this is again, I probably following the tone we've set on these last couple of questions, is I like these characters. I wouldn't want them gone, but my inclination is to pick somebody like Professor X or Magneto or somebody pivotal in the universe or Doctor Doom. Oh, people!
Oh no!
Oh, people would riot. Not Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
But you know, what's his name? Fantastic Four.
The Mole Man.
No, but somebody pivotal in
like
the whole
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards.
Reed
Mr.
Richards.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Reed Richards never existed, and I just because I want to see then how these stories are like reshaped to make everything work. And I know it's not. It wouldn't be like that. The question is, it would just like he never existed. Everything makes sense. Like who would you just get rid of? But I want to see then how the stories reshift to make it make sense.
Right. That'd make it fun, like a what if kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which Marvel does anyways. There's some obvious ones where it's like, you just take out this Spider-Man villain and who cares? He's gone. You know, like the Spot. Like, who even knows who the Spot is? But you take him out, everything's the same.
My issue is I don't read enough Marvel to know of characters I actively dislike, at least off the top of my head, that I would want gone.
Right. You know, like anybody that came after Hank Pym that was Ant-Man or Giant Man or Goliath or, you know, I mean, as long as you've got one, I don't know why we needed multiples.
All right. I like that question. David also had a question last episode. All right. Joshua Bowman asked, will there ever be a good Silver Surfer movie?
You know what? I think they just missed their boat because they basically just did Planet Hulk, right? And that would have been the perfect place to just throw him in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because in Planet Hulk, he goes up against the Silver Surfer at one point. And Planet Hulk was part of Thor Ragnarok, basically.
Yeah.
And that would have been perfect. I mean, that would have been a great way to introduce him. That wouldn't have been too weird. Otherwise, we've got to run into him in either a Fantastic Four movie or a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah, kind of. Ooh, that's another. Okay, so yeah, I'd say like in the current Marvel movie series going, it would have to be like Guardians. But so does that mean Fox has the rights to Silver Surfer at this time then? If so, we're probably not going to get a good one anytime soon.
Well, I mean, because now Disney owns Fox.
Oh, you're right.
So I mean, but it's where does he fall? Does he fall as technically a Fantastic Four character? Because I don't think that Marvel necessarily got Fantastic Four in that whole deal. Because Fox had the distribution rights, but I don't know if they actually own the rights to the Fantastic Four. Basically, the people who do own the rights, if they want to make a movie, they're going to have to go through Disney. So they're either not going to make a movie or they're going to make a movie for Disney. They're going to do it the Disney way. So if it's made, I think it'll be good because Disney doesn't, they're not in the losing money business.
Yeah.
Which is why they buy these things, right? They wouldn't have made Star Wars movies if they didn't think they could make some money off of them, and they did. No matter what you think about them, they're making money off of these new Star Wars movies.
That they are.
So I think we will, maybe, if they bother to look at that character and make a movie out of it. If they make a movie out of it, it'll probably be decent because they'll have the money and they'll have the writers, the pool of writers that will come up with something that will make sense. But I don't know if it'll be a solo movie. I would love that, but I don't know. I don't know that they'll go that route. I think he'll be plugged into something else.
And he has a second question, Joshua does.
Okay.
Also, what philosophical... Wow.
Philosophical.
What philosophical issues get addressed in your favorite comic books?
Oh, man. I mean, just looking at Black Hammer, man. That's just like the nature of humdrum life, you know?
Yeah.
And how some people can and can't cope with it.
I mean, it seems like most comic books, well, just in general, most comic books deal with, but it seems like a lot of the characters I gravitate towards deal with, sound cliche, but the duality of man. You know, they're not necessarily the anti-heroes, but you got like a Batman, where he's a good guy, but you know, he's not necessarily like, he's kind of a bad dude too.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe, I don't know, Swampy's full of all kinds of things.
Oh yeah, a lot of eco, like, you know, how we take care of our planet or don't.
Mm-hmm. And then I also liked, I mean, that's part of what made Vision, that Tom King Vision series, so interesting, was the idea of trying to deal with humanity. How do these characters without it deal with it?
What is it to be human? Yeah, basically.
Yeah, what is it to be human? And what makes these people that are humans much different anyway? Yeah, that. What, all that.
Well, and anything written by Alan Moore tends to have some kind of backdrop of you know, like who watches the Watchmen, and you know, what would be the downsides of having a superhero squad that basically, you know, runs the thing.
That is a question. That is a question that if you're not careful, like you could easily dive into that pretty deep. But the surface level, it seems like there's definitely a couple things that come up in a lot of comic books.
Right. With great power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Chris Osborne from the podcast Play Comics has a question, and it's what are your favorite and least favorite video games that come from comics? So video games based on comics. And his podcast title makes sense now. Play Comics.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a good concept for a podcast.
You know, I mean, like, I wish I played more of these. Like, I used to play them a lot more. Like, as they came out when I was in high school and whatnot, nothing made my day faster than to see that, you know, a comic book video game is being made. Mm-hmm. But they're not all created equal.
Oh no!
like The Tick is one that I really want to like, but it's basically just a side scroller beat 'em up. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to navigate. So I just kind of give up, you know, like I didn't get very far. But then there's other ones like Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. I could play that all day. That's probably one of my favorites of all time.
That's a classic.
Right.
There, no, I mean, there's a lot of there's some more modern games that still suck based on comics, but any licensed property in old school video games is iffy. It's hit or miss. You've got some classics like the Turtles games, especially the older arcade Turtles games and NES period games and stuff.
Right.
But a lot of it really was just like, okay, we've got this side scroller. What skin? Basically, what can we skin it with? What do we have the license to? Or what can we get the rights to use or whatever? Among my favorites would be Batman Arkham City.
Okay, I figured one of those would be one of yours. I didn't know, but I don't know them very well. So,
well, Arkham Asylum and Arkham. I only played the first two. I still haven't played Arkham Knight. Was it Arkham Knight, the last one? And I didn't play the Origins one. And between Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, I liked the free roam sandbox environment. So yeah, Arkham City was awesome because those are those games where if you play it right, you feel like Batman.
Right,
right. You're Batman. And then one that I kind of liked that wasn't necessarily a great game. It was pretty short, but there was a Hulk. It was the Hulk Ultimate Destruction or something. It was on the first Xbox, and I'm assuming maybe PS2 at that time then. And again, the story was short, but it was basically sandbox. You could run around the city. You could do like the crazy Hulk jump, and you could just smash things up. And of course, bad guys would come in. You'd have to fight bad guys and stuff. But if you wanted, you could just grab a bunch of cars and make boxing gloves out of cars and start punching buildings and jumping across the city. Like, that was fun. Like, it was one of the first superhero games I played that really nailed the mechanics of what it felt like to like have these superpowers, which is part of what made that Spider-Man 2 game from back in the day so good, and part of what makes those Batman games so good. Like, it feels like you're traversing a city with these powers. As for least favorite, there's a lot of crappy games. Back in the day, there were games, I would rent a lot of games.
Sure.
And there were games that I'd rent over and over, even though I think I hated them, but like they seemed like they were cool. Like there was the a Spider-Man, or was it? It was basically like
Spider-Man and the
X-Men. Yes.
Yeah, and that was a Super Nintendo game. Yeah, and I had that game, and I wanted to love it because it had like Gambit in it. Mm-hmm. But it was, again, just a side scroller, and it was hard.
Yes. I rented that game so many times, and it would make me so angry. But I'm like, these characters are cool. I want to be these characters. But like, I was not good at it.
Yeah, no. And it was kind of like the Gambit level was basically like Battletoads, where it just not like Battletoads, like Battletoads in the race levels, where like you can't stop. You have like the screen is going to keep moving, and if you don't keep moving, your character dies. So it's basically like a side scroller where you can't stop and look around. So you're just constantly moving forward and trying not to die. And it was like, this character's fun and cool, but this level is not.
Yep.
And for Super Nintendo, they could have done something better, I think. Like it feels like a Super Nintendo game that is still actually a Nintendo game.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like something that was ported over from an earlier system,
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't stretching the platform at all.
Mm-mm. All right, let's get to the poll list.
The poll list. Owlgirls, eh?
This was added years ago at this point.
Many moons ago.
Yeah, this was added to the pull list. This has been on there for a long time. I suspect it was on there. Well, I'm guessing maybe around the time that the Kickstarter for issue 2 was going on, is my guess. Sometime in 2016, maybe. By the nature of the way the pull list works, we only read the ones that get the most votes. So if it'll take a while for a comic to trickle to the top. I have a feeling this is well past whoever added it's like well past it's
past its prime.
Yeah. But that's okay.
Your best before date.
Yeah. This is. I'm not gonna say it's expired. That seems diminutive. This comic's expired. No, this specific request, because if you search for it online, there are a lot of reviews for this around a certain time period, and I'm guessing that's when it was added to the poll list. Most likely by one of the creators or something. We decided to read issues 1 and 2 because we had read issue 1 and we're like we don't know what's happening, so
maybe issue 2 will answer some questions.
Maybe issue 2. Both issues were funded through Kickstarter. They're not hard to find. They're on Amazon, both issues. But for me anyway, if I search for it on Amazon, they don't come up. I have to search for it through Google to find the link.
I was able to find it through the Kindle store,
okay.
Directly through the Kindle app.
Okay.
If you use the search function through there, then I was able to find it because it's Kindle only for that second issue.
Yeah. The first issue you can read it's available on Kindle and Comixology.
Right.
I mean, reading it on Kindle was fine, but I prefer the Comixology just because it handles a little bit more like Comic Rack, which is what I like the best.
Sure.
Yeah, so we finally read these things. We bought both issues.
So who made this thing and what is it about?
These are valid questions. I can tell you the first part of that question anyway.
Okay, all right.
So for issue 1, we have a story credit of Robert J. Sodaro. Art by Rochelle Aragno with Dave Ryan. Graphics by Dave Ryan. I wonder what that is specifically. Lettering by Wilson Ramos Jr. And this is published by Red Anvil Comics. Now, issue 2, the story is by Robert J. Sodaro with Dave Ryan. The art is by Rochelle Aragno. I'm sorry for my pronunciations. And Dave Ryan. Graphics Dave Ryan. Lettering Ed Dukeshire. Also published by Red Anvil. Again, these were both funded through Kickstarter.
Okay, so basically the same creative team, a little different with the lettering, but the lettering seems to, it doesn't seem like a huge difference between the two.
No. Yeah, I mean, the art style still is very much the same. How to describe this?
Is there a summary somewhere?
I know I'm not going to get any of the names. That's for sure.
Oh, man, no.
I have a summary.
Okay.
Owlgirls, New York City, 1945. 3 mystical private detective sisters, better known as... They were private detectives? Okay. I have a feeling this is from the publisher, and I have a feeling the person that wrote the summary had more advanced knowledge of what was to happen in the series than what we ever got. So, 3 mystical private detective sisters, better known as Owlgirls, live in a mortuary in Soho, often doing the bidding of death by tracking down supernatural creatures. This is not what we read. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Right. We didn't know this yet.
They also, like, I generally try to go into a lot of these fairly cold, and yeah, I did not know this stuff. They also investigate murders, unsolved cases, and assist in sundry other paranormal activities. That's obviously the pitch of what the series is supposed to be.
That sounded like it would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so and if you're wondering why we sound like confused by that, that's correct. I mean, you've got these owl girl people, but the series has at this point only made it to 2 issues. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to track down more information. It doesn't seem like there's plans to continue it. I could be wrong. The story definitely ends in a way that seems like it should be continued. Like it's right. It seems like an ongoing that's just not going on. So
right.
And in these 2 issues, we get introduced to these Owlgirls, death. We get character introductions basically, but we only just barely start to get a glimpse of maybe what these Owlgirls could do. But there was no indication as to what they do on the regular. There's no indication as to this detectiving or fighting creatures at all.
Basically seems like they go shopping.
Yeah,
we come home from wherever we were and we go out. That's what we do. And we have some neighbors.
We have some neighbors and some people are after us sometimes.
And we live in a mortuary, which is weird too. But I mean, where else are you going to live if you're an owl person? Well, exactly. And that's the thing. They're not just called owl girls; they are owl girls.
They are women that are have owl faces.
Now that doesn't seem to really put anyone off all that bad, though.
Well, it definitely seems like it's not normal that there's animal face people, because it seems like that's part of the reason what's his name doesn't want them going out a lot, and when they do go out, onlookers seem surprised.
Mm-hmm. And they do tend to cover their faces, at least in the very beginning.
But I mean, they're not in a circus, so
right.
I mean, this is 1945 or whatever.
There's a few face-to-face confrontations, and I mean, I don't want to jump way ahead, but the main conflict of the first issue is that it comes to light that they have this ESP type of sense where they have the sight, is what they call it, mm-hmm. And at one point, there's this group that wants them because they have the sight, and that's all that they're really worried about. They don't really, none of the people seem taken aback. They're just we're here to get you because you have the sight.
Was that established at all before it was we're here to get you because you have the sight?
Doesn't the one gal go to the neighbor boy's house and use the sight?
Oh, okay.
Basically to help cure somebody's sickness or something like that?
Yeah, it was a baby. That's right. That's how she knew that. So, okay. because I read it, but it must have flew over my head, or I don't know, didn't pick up that that's how she knew this. So I was a little surprised when they were talking about them having the site, but I'm like, well, whatever, they're Owlgirls. Of course they have the site.
Of course they do.
So then some gangsters want to collect them for somebody, for their boss, because they have the site. Okay, so the guy that runs the mortuary is in love with one of the sisters, one of the Owlgirls.
Right.
There's also, he has an employee there that seems to handle all this weird stuff pretty well. And Death shows up to once in a while to harass them.
Right.
And she keeps saying that like the Owlgirls are her daughters, but then they're like, we're not your daughters. So there's some whole thing there. I mean, that's, in terms of the first issue, that's it. That's the whole first issue.
Right. Yeah, that is.
So
like a lot of it kind of feels almost like a British drama kind of thing, because it all just happens in the living room. But there is some supernatural elements to keep it moving along kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But it does feel very Downton Abbey kind of thing, but with bird women.
Yeah, and that's not and that's not to say like it's not dull. It does move along. No. These were both very quick reads. There's a lot of pages of like scenery.
Mm-hmm. When the artwork, I'm sold. Like this artwork's pretty cool, and it's all kind of black and white. Mm-hmm. The cityscapes are wonderful. I mean, there's a few like aerial shots of New York in this time period, and they're beautifully rendered. It's almost like an ink wash type of approach, I guess, because it's like black and white with grayscales.
It's got a very distinctive, to the characters, it's got a very distinctive style. Mm-hmm. Definitely not like your traditional comic book art style.
It does remind me of something, but of a book. Almost like, what it reminds me of is, have you ever read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Mm-mm. It kind of reminds me of that art style, where the faces are kind of elongated and whatnot, and stylistic. And so I wish I could tell you the name of that artist right off the top of my head, but I can't. But that's kind of what it reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah, the art's very nice. Issue 2, we discover that these Owlgirls can teleport. They have various powers, apparently. Mm-hmm. Because this threat of the Italian stereotype mobsters,
big time stereotype.
They teleport these guys out of there. Like they teleport them to the pier and their guns to the bottom of the ocean. That feels like that's all this really establishes this issue.
Yeah, basically. Well, and that's all of issue 2. You mean?
Yeah.
that's basically that, and then they go have a day at the beach.
They do.
I'm not even kidding. I mean, like that seems simplistic, but really, that's it. I mean, where the last one left off was basically they're held at gunpoint. This resolves that. They have a little bit of drama within the household. Continuing basically business as usual for the mortuary, like establishing balance again, and then they go out.
I like the character work done with the guy that runs the mortuary. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like we've gotten enough from like any of the Owlgirls to really establish characters on them.
Right.
But yeah, this isn't bad. Like I don't want to sound like I'm down on this book. It's just with what's there, it's really hard to approach this like
right, to give it any kind of a review.
Yeah, we don't have a story arc here to work with. We have feels like half of the introduction to a story,
Right.
It's intriguing. It's definitely different.
Yeah. It was a fast read. It kept me interested. I was able to read it in a single sitting both times. Mm-hmm. For each issue. The artwork, I'm impressed with the artwork. I like kind of the sensibility they're going for with like in the very beginning of the first issue, they even do some parodies of like famous artworks, but then plug in the Owlgirls kind of thing. At least that's the way it feels. I don't know if that's exactly what they're going for, but they're definitely striking a time period.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And even right down to the lettering has got kind of an old typewriter feel to it, at least in their like narration boxes.
There's a lot of, not a lot of, but is it French?
That's the part that gets a little bit dicey. Is it French? Is it Italian. I think the mobsters are Italian big time because
Yeah.
they sound. I mean, like if I have a criticism, it's that the Italian mobster gets a little bit too Mario in his. Like they put "it's a me" kind of thing. Like they put that A like that it's a. You know, like they put that in there a lot, and maybe that's maybe they've done the research and that's legitimately how they talk. But for me, it took me out of it a little bit because I was like, okay, I feel like this is a little overly done.
Now that you mention it, French. What was I thinking? French? No, yeah, I think it's definitely Italian because everybody's names sound Italian, kind of. Mm-hmm. Or at least those arrangement of random letters that I don't understand look Italian.
The interesting part about it is it didn't really hit me at all in the first issue, but then like you get a whole lot more of the gangsters in that second issue. So in the second issue is like you just couldn't even ignore it because there's so much of it in the first pages.
That's kind of, for me, that's what I mean, not with the accent, but in the first issue, the first few pages of dialogue, there's a lot of, it felt like jumping from a line of Italian to English to where I was like, oh, it almost felt like, is this almost like a bilingual book? Like, is this how it's going to be the whole time? For the most part, I mean, it's English, and I have a feeling the Italian that's there is probably like common sayings and stuff. It's not like the full dialogue repeated twice.
Right.
But there was a lot of it that, I was like, oh, this was unexpected. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about it. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like in terms of would I recommend it, I want to see more, like I am interested in the story arc, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to someone that is going to want to see a continued story arc until we know that it's coming.
There's not enough here to recommend. I mean, if somebody was intrigued, if they seen a piece of the artwork somewhere and was intrigued by the style, be like, yeah, check it out. It's got a interesting and cohesive within itself style. It looks good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's definitely got a feel like it's there.
It feels like it's going somewhere. It's not like slapdash. It doesn't feel like nothing makes. It doesn't feel like it won't make sense ever. It just feels like it doesn't make sense now. But it feels like that's done for a reason.
Yeah. The issue is this is all there is, and I can't find anywhere that indicates that there's plans to do more. And I contemplated reaching out to the creators just to see if they had future plans for this stuff, but I didn't end up reading the book till just recently. So
sure. So that's Owlgirls.
On the upside, like I've been pretty busy this month. It was refreshing to have such a quick pull list read,
right?
And it's different. It's a break from there's some supernatural stuff happening, but it's definitely a break from superheroes. So thanks for recommending it. You got our money. I will include links though, and not affiliate links. I'll just include links to where you can find them on Amazon or the Kindle store links if you want to check it out yourself. You can download a sample copy or whatever of the first issue. It'll give you the first few pages. It's because of the way the first issue is plotted out, you don't get a lot of actual dialogue or anything. It's because the first several pages are like some very nice like city shots and stuff, but that'll give you an idea of the look of it and the feel a little bit. Whoa, who turned out the lights? Where did I end up now? This stupid time traveling Blinkatron, I swear.
There's a Blinkatron. It's just going. It's okay.
Oh crap. Shh. Just stay asleep. Okay. Alright, well, right place, wrong time. This is fine. I'll just leave him a note. There has to be some paper around here somewhere. Man, it's dark. Oh, what is that? Trash can.
This is cat dancing.
Wait, is that? It's full of comics. What the devil? Marvel Secret Wars, Marvel Secret Empire, 90s Captain America. Huh. All right. Now where's some paper? What's this? puppets, Pokemon. Here we go, paper. Jesse, this is Randy. From in the future!
There's imported donuts. There's just... Why would they do that? It's stupid.
Jesse, this is Randy. From in the future. Just leaving this note to remind you to let listeners know how they can send us their feedback for the letters page segment. Be sure to tell them they can send us an email to letters@grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. And we'll read it on the show. If they'd like to hear their voice on the show, they can send us a voice recording or do it the old-fashioned way. Pick up a phone and leave us a voice message. The phone number to do that is 559-426-6427. That's 559-426-6427. Or an easier way to remember it is 559-4-COMICS. Tell them to try to keep it under 2 minutes, and remember we do a clean language show. Regardless what the YouTube algorithm says. I would remind myself, but it doesn't go well when I try to visit my past selves. It's too paradoxical. Thanks. Alright, now just to leave this on his nightstand.
There's a spider buggy.
And with that taken care of, I can try to get back to episode 100.
There's too much exhaust.
Wait a minute. It occurs to me I have a unique opportunity here. That just might be too much magnificent manly beard for one podcast. There can only be one.
Okay, the guy isn't looking. Go now.
Good evening, Dominion shoppers.
Dominion, is that still a store?
Just go with it. Johnny said the manager will bust us if we take too long.
Right.
This Monday, we're offering the deliciously different podcast, The Roman Podcast, featuring Roman LeBeau and Robert Cast. This special feature is made from 100% Canadian cheese, covering all your weird news and even weirder thoughts from the capital of culture, Brampton, Ontario.
Is that a dig at Brampton?
Yeah, why?
No, just making sure. Spot on, man.
So be sure to check it out. Did you get that? Check it out. Check out.
That's terrible. Who wrote this copy?
Hey guys.
Johnny!
My manager will hear you.
We're on the store PA system. Like you said we could be?
Oh yeah. Right. I'm just gonna be here listening while pretending to mop.
You are mopping.
Yeah, but the water is filthy.
Hey, where's Neil? Does he work here?
What, in retail? He's loaded. I think he's like rock collecting or something.
Okay.
Tune in to the Roman Podcast on iTunes, the Tangent Bound Network, Stitcher, Google Play, and the EMC Podcast Network for totally fresh and free Roman Podcast.
Hey, you two, get away from there. Johnny, get him! Sorry guys, I'm part of the gig economy. I have to chase you with this filthy mop now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Sure.
Go back to Libsyn, you mooches! And stay out! I love those guys. Johnny! These floors look great.
This has been Randy. From what I gather, we are very much alike. Everything about you tells the tale. Your attitude, your costume, your tactics. They all scream of outrage, despair, vengeance. What terrible wrong was done to set you on this path? It doesn't really matter. Grawlix matters.
And this is Jesse. Don't say that. Never say that. Goonies never say Grawlix.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of the Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. For more Grawlix Podcast, visit grawlixpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/grawlixpodcast or follow us on Twitter at grawlixpodcast. We're also everywhere. All the time. Man, what happened to the DC cartoon animated features? Those kind of really nosedived.
I don't know. They were so good, and now it's like I need to hear that they're good before I will even approach it.
Right?
Was the red? What did you think of the Red Hood one?
People really like that one. I wasn't super keen on it.
See, that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
It seemed,
But I read the books, so I mean, maybe that's part of the problem. I feel like some of these people who really love the animated features didn't ever read the book.
yeah, that could be. It seemed more generic, like
Yeah.
more generic, actiony. Like there was something about the other ones, and even it's not even that they all had the same feel because I liked the Dark Knight animated two movies. That was good, but also like the one based on the Dane Cook Justice League we read was really good.
Oh.
New Frontier or whatever, that was pretty decent.
Oh, Darwin, yeah.
Darwin, did I say Dane?
You said Dane.
Oh
and
my
I was like,
God.
was there a Dane Cook that wrote
Ooh,
something?
I hope not.
I hope not too.
Ooh, Darwin Cook. That's a name I'm glad I haven't heard for a while.
Right, yeah.